Welcome back to 2 Cents, We See Scary Movies, the podcast where we see scary movies so you don't have to. Although, let's be honest, you probably still will. I'm Talon, your resident horror enthusiast who absolutely would be the one saying, it's probably fine, right before the first limb surfaces. And I'm here with Christopher, Tobacco Road Harley-Davidson salesman by day, ocean avoider by nature, a man who is deeply spiritually terrified of sharks, which makes it especially funny that tonight we're not even doing sharks. We're doing fish that travel in packs. So congratulations, buddy. You upgraded from one big predator to thousands of tiny ones. And this month's theme is Spring Break, Broken Bodies, because nothing says memories that last a lifetime like tequila, bad choices, and prehistoric carnivores that have been waiting 2 million years for bikini season. Tonight we're diving into Piranha 3D, the movie that said, what if Jaws, but make it feral and add more spring breaky. So stay out of the water, or don't. It won't matter. Let's get into it. Before we jump into Piranha 3D, we do need to address the obvious change. Dan is no longer on the show. No horror movie betrayal. No one got fed to anything aquatic. He is just extremely busy. Full-time job, full-time school, kids, all that. Something had to give, and unfortunately, it was this. Which brings us to the new voice, and now face, you're seeing. That is Christopher. He is officially joining 2 Cents. Yes, and this is also my daughter's fiance. And yes, this means family dinners just got more interesting. And yes, we already co-host another podcast together called One Season Wonder, where we talk about TV shows that only lasted one season. Because we're both used to doing that show on video, we decided to switch 2 Cents over to video format as well. So if you're watching us now instead of just listening, this is your fault, Christopher. So welcome to the chaos.
Yep, I'm happy to be here.
All right. We'll just go ahead and jump right into the movie. I want to spend a little extra time on the opening because the movie very deliberately starts with a joke, and the joke is Jaws. So we open on Richard Dreyfuss alone on a tiny boat in the middle of the lake, and he is very clearly styled like Matt Hooper. They never say it's Hooper, but it's Richard Dreyfuss dressed like Hooper, acting like Hooper, and even singing the same song he sang in Jaws, which was Show Me the Way to Go Home. So right away, the movie is basically winking at you like, yeah, we know exactly what we're doing. Everything is calm, peaceful, quiet, and then suddenly there's this small seismic tremor. Not huge, but big enough to crack open the lake floor. So maybe a little huge. The water starts swirling into the whirlpool. His little boat gets caught in it. He tries to restart the engine. It won't go. He falls into the water and immediately gets torn apart by a swarm of prehistoric piranha that have just been released from the underground.
I did read something about Richard Dreyfuss about the movie, though.
Oh, okay.
The dude got paid 50 G's for that cameo.
What?
And yeah, and he donated it all to charity.
He donated to what?
Charity.
Oh, charity. Oh, they said Siri. the robot?
Yeah, he donated all to charity. But he got paid a shit ton for that little bit of work. Or I don't know how long.
Damn.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it was the opening, but that was it. That's all he had in it. I mean,
Yep.
he's mentioned later, but you don't see him again, of course, because he was eaten.
Yep.
But wow. So anyway, that's the cold open, calm nostalgia, instant chaos, and boom, we're off. Then we shift into town to meet our main cast and set up the situation. It's spring break at Lake Victoria, Arizona, which is basically the biggest money-making week of the year for this town. It's just a small town, but it's got this big lake. There are college kids everywhere, drinking everywhere, music everywhere, total chaos. It actually feels very Jaws in that sense, busiest time of year, worst possible moment for something to go wrong. We meet Jake Forrester riding through town, and he spots Sheriff Julie Forrester arresting some drunk idiot who thinks it's hilarious. At first, you don't even clock that she's his mom, because they don't tell you her name right off the beginning. But you can tell that she's a very no-nonsense woman, and that there's obviously some connection between her and Jake, but you don't really sense what it is at this point. But she's all business. Anyway, Jake runs into his friend Kelly, who wants him to hang out for spring break, but he tells her he can't because he's stuck babysitting his younger siblings. Then a couple of guys roll up, give Jake a hard time, and Kelly leaves with them. It takes about 10 seconds to establish Jake's place in the social hierarchy here. So then he heads over to check on his little sister, who's sitting at a table with this gorgeous British girl named Danny. The sister's maybe 7 or 8, super chatty, and Danny is just humoring her. Jake introduces himself, and that's when Derek Jones shows up. Now, he's the sleazy spring break video producer type who basically films drunk college girls for money. And what was that show? There was a show back in the day. Girls Gone Wild. Yeah, it's basically that. I could not
The
remember
real
the name.
dude actually threatened to like press charges for any kind of like bad depiction.
Oh,
One of
okay.
like the fun. That can we curse on this podcast?
Yeah. I say curse words all the time.
That fucking guy, that actor, Jerry O'Connell.
Huh?
I don't think he's acting in that movie because every movie I've seen him, he's the exact same. Like in Kangaroo Jack, he's the exact same character, just without the.
It's been a long time since I've seen Kangaroo Jack, so I don't remember what he's like. I remember him most because I've seen it the most is Stand By Me, and he was nothing like this character in Stand By Me.
I
He was
haven't
a little
seen it,
kid.
but I don't like him. There's a lot of people in this movie I do not like Kevin Bacon.
That's an inside joke. He does like Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's gonna sue us.
Just you. I love Kevin Bacon. So anyway, so we cut to Jake at home later looking Derek up online when Sheriff Mom walks in and casually calls him out because his sister told her he made plans. He panics, lies, insists he's staying home to babysit. So they have a little thing, and then she finally leaves the room. And this is where the tone shifts. Later that night, Julie gets word that a local named Matt, yes, the Richard Dreyfuss character from the opening, went out fishing and never came home. His wife is worried, so Julie and her deputy Fallon, played by Ving Rhames, head out onto the lake in the dark to look for him. They find his little fishing boat drifting just far enough off the dock they can't quite reach it. It's quiet, too quiet. Julie leans out to grab it and loses her balance. She falls straight into the water. And for a split second, you think, okay, this is where she gets attacked. But instead, she comes up gasping, and behind her, Matt's mangled, half-eaten corpse floats to the surface, but he's like right on top of her. It's really your typical expected jump scare moment. Anyway, this is the moment she realizes something is seriously wrong in that lake. And that's why the next day she's very clear with Jake the kids are not going near the water, which of course he completely ignores. Next thing we see, he's already on the dock with his little brother and sister making a deal with them. He'll pay them if they don't tell anyone that he left because he wants to go into town and, go wild with the girls. So they agree because $60 is apparently life-changing money for a little kid, and he takes off.
And that fucking dude, like, very dangerous for children to be right next to this open water with break boats rolling around everywhere. And he's like,
yeah, they're
just stay
little
inside.
kids. Yeah. But the thing is, he tells them to stay inside. He leaves, and he, I guess, leaves them at the water. Responsible. Okay. So out on the lake, he meets up with Derek's boat, runs into Kelly again, gets called a sand rat because he's a local. And before long, they're all heading out to some secluded part of the lake to shoot footage.
Isn't the sand rat the mascot of the school?
They didn't say anything about the school, but
maybe I'm tripping. I just assume.
Yeah, they call them sand rats because, I guess all the sand by the lake makes sense, I guess. I don't know. So meanwhile, the little brother decides he wants to go fishing somewhere quieter because the dock is too crowded, which I think it was just the two of them.
Not true.
Two little kids. They take up a lot of space. So he convinces his sister to take their little canoe over to a nearby island, even though she knows they're supposed to stay home. Now, I don't know what the difference is between the crowd at their dock and the crowd at the island, because it didn't seem like there was anyone around them near the dock, but whatever. And the island looked like it was just right across the water. Like you could see it right across the water.
Right.
So he promises it's not that far, which it isn't. And they go, and you already know that this is going to be a problem. Back on Derek's boat, things get ridiculous fast. The girls jump in the water, strip naked, start doing this full synchronized underwater dance routine where they can hold their breath for 20 minutes, apparently, because they never come up for air.
You're right about that. And apparently they had to train, like they really did have to train for that scene.
Well, I have a little extra notes about the movie, and those two women, I don't know if it was those two women that were actually underwater doing it that played the roles, but the women that were playing that part where they were dancing underwater, they were actually synchronized swimmers or something. I have it at the end of my notes, so I'll get to it then, I suppose. So they're holding their breath really well underwater and dancing, and they're filming it. So we cut back to the kids on the island, and this is where was a bad idea moment kicks in. So the little brother didn't tie the canoe up properly, so now it's just drifting away slowly, and the two of them are stranded. The little girl starts walking into the shallow water, trying to wave down passing boats, yelling for help, but no one can hear her over the music and chaos out on the lake, which, where they were, there was none of that, but whatever. So as she's walking through the water, she steps on something. I don't know if it's a sharp rock or whatever it is, and it cuts her foot. And of course, it starts bleeding, which I guess piranha are like sharks. They can smell blood from a million miles away. And you can see this piranha from its POV just through the water, and it's coming for her. But she gets out just in time. Phew, of course.
Piranhas actually can smell blood.
Oh, okay. How far?
They can detect a single drop of blood in 50 gallons of water.
That's not very much. I mean,
Is it
considering they're in a
not?
lake. Well, just considering 50 gallons of water for a lake, I think wouldn't be a lot.
Well, they're
But
big piranhas. It might be amplified by how many gallons.
maybe.
They're dinosaurs.
But anyway, this moment tells you the piranha are spreading. So they're just not like in one spot anymore. Then we cut to Julie, who's out on a lake again, this time with a group of seismologists who've come to investigate that crack in the lake floor from the tremor. One of them explains that there was basically a subterranean lake trapped underneath Lake Victoria, sealed off for millions of years, and now the earthquake has opened it up. So naturally, two divers decide this is a great idea and go down to explore it.
Not a great idea.
Yeah, they find the rift, swim inside, and pop a flare. And suddenly you see them, hundreds, maybe thousands, swarming. They tear the first diver apart. The second diver, of course, she makes the bad decision of trying to help the first diver, which is not a good idea. And they start coming after her. And so she's screaming and she's trying to get out through the little tunnel they came into. And then all of a sudden, the guy that was on the boat still, the head guy, he had put all his gear on and jumped in because he knew there was a problem. And you see him all of a sudden grab her and pull her away and hauls her out of that area. And I don't know why they didn't all follow them. All the piranha didn't follow them, but they kind of all backed off except for one. So he hauls her out onto the boat. She's completely mangled, totally dead. So like I said, one of the piranha made it onto the boat with her and it's flopping around and jumping around. And they're like, what the fuck is this? So they put it into a bucket and they head back to shore. They get to this, I don't know if it's a store or a small museum. I don't know what it is, but
I thought it was like a aquarium, like a local little fish store.
It could have been, yeah. But he was obviously a big fish enthusiast because he had fish stuff all over the place and tanks and aquariums and whatever. And his name is Carl Goodman, and he's played by Christopher Lloyd, who runs this fish store thing. And he's also a very eccentric guy. So they plop this prehistoric demon fish into an aquarium and ask, what the hell is this? So Goodman pulls out this old fossil and explains that this species is about 2 million years old, supposedly extinct, and now it's in their lake. So then they explain the tremor and the break and the earth and the underwater cavern, and then it all clicks for him. And he's like, these things survived underground, probably by eating each other. And then when that rift opened up the earth, they are able to come out. So this means they're probably very aggressive, and now they've got access to fresh meat across the whole lake. And of course, that fresh meat just happens to be a bunch of drunk college kids on spring break. Good timing. Yep. So now we go back to Jake's boat. Derek hands Jake a camera, and suddenly Jake is a professional cinematographer. Like, it's amazing. Like, this kid knows nothing about what's going on, does nothing about cameras, but he's got this full-on professional camera, and he is using it like he's a professional cinematographer. So he's filming a topless girl who is parasailing. And because Derek wants the money shot, he's, supposed to be trained on her with the camera. But meanwhile, Derek and one of the girls are casually doing coke on the boat. And while Jake is filming, he happens to look over and he sees something that he's like, oh, shit. It's his little brother and sister waiting for help from the island. So he immediately stops filming.
I want to add to this point because I forgot about this part. They hired him to show him all the good spots of the lake, and he took him 50 feet from his house. Was the good spot.
Right. Yeah, I was like, he's nowhere near where all the action is, because all the action's down near the main part of town. There's thousands of them all over the place, and they're out here in this remote, desolate part of the lake. Nothing's going on. So it is weird that that's where they were. Right, exactly. It's the happening spot in town. We've got kids. So he stops filming because he's looking at his brother and sister, and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? So then Derek sees that he's not filming the money shot and freaks out because he's going to miss it. So Jake says, those are my siblings. I'm supposed to be babysitting them. So Derek's basically like, not my problem, dude. Until Jake drops the magic words, my mom's the sheriff. And then suddenly Derek is very interested in rescuing these kids. So they turn the boat toward the island. But before we even get there, we cut back to the parasailing girl, and she's in the water because, she's parasailing. So while they're going, she's up in the air. But of course, when they slow down and stop, she gets dropped down in the water and whatever. Well, one of the times she gets dropped down, they kind of leave her down for a little bit. Well, piranha swarm. So she starts screaming and carrying on. You see blood in the water and all this happening. And then they show underneath her, of course. We see the piranha are biting her and attacking her, and she's screaming and screaming. And the guys on the boat pulling her thinks she's just playing it up for the camera because, that's hot. Screaming bloody girl, super hot money shot. So the water's turned red. They realize something's going on. They pull her up, and from the thighs down, she's nothing. And that's when the movie stops pretending and just goes full chaos. Right. So they grab the stranded kids, head back out, but Derek's mad. They're late to his main party event. And Jake warns him there are rocks in this area, so they have to be careful. And you can see the rocks. They're sticking out from the water. It's obviously a very shallow part of the lake. And of course, they hit one. It's inevitable. So then also, not only do they hit a rock, well, no, actually, they didn't hit the rock first. Their propeller got tangled. Yeah, their propeller got tangled in some, is there seaweed in the lake? I don't know. But the boat starts, lakeweed, lakeweed. Yeah. So I was like, no, seaweed. Yeah. So the guy that is normally the cameraman, he's, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and they're not getting out. They're going nowhere. And Derek is blaming Jake and physically goes after him. He's choking him and screaming that it's his fault. And then we cut back to the main beach party. Now, this is peak spring break insanity. There's DJs, there's a wet t-shirt contest, music's blasting, Eli Roth is there, and he's playing a radio host type guy, hyping up the crowd, spraying girls down. Everything is boobs and alcohol. Police boats show up telling everyone to get out of the water, but of course, nobody's listening. So underwater, we see the swarm moving through the crowd. It's coming in, it's all there through the POV. And this movie is in 3D, but you can, of course, watch it not in 3D. So there are, that's what I did too. I forgot to take out my handy dandy 3D glasses. Always keep a spare around. You never know when the 80s might come back. So there are some shots that are weird looking, and that they are purposely made that way because it's 3D, but they're definitely got a weird look to them. So these piranha, though, there's hundreds and hundreds, possibly 1,000 or whatever people in this lake, and the piranha are just swarming through all these people. They don't touch a single person. For some reason, they are targeting this one girl who's sitting in just a round circle raft, and she's sitting in it, so her butt's just in the water. And that's what they're geared towards for whatever reason. They don't care about anybody else at this moment. And you see them, they go up and they start biting her butt, and she starts screaming, and then you see blood everywhere, and then everybody's freaking out. And now the piranha are starting to eat everybody else. And it's just absolute crazy chaos because she falls through the tube, blood's everywhere. Everybody's in a panic. People are screaming. Boats are plowing through swimmers. One guy, he's got a boat. He's just charging through swimmers, churning them up behind him, making chum for these piranha. The floating stage structure starts tipping because everyone is trying to climb on it at once. There's gunfire because they're trying to shoot these piranha.
Dude, that's where I started to lose it. I was like, and he turns into James Bond out of nowhere.
Right.
He fucking hijacks some dude's jet ski with the shotgun and is, I'm going to get him one fish at a time kind of guy.
I'm like, this is one fish at a time. What do you think is going to happen here? It's going to take forever. You're going to run out. Cops are shooting in the water. It doesn't matter. There's way too many. Eli Roth's character, he's in the water and he's swimming across and he's trying to climb up onto a dock. And I like what they did with him. He didn't get eaten. He wasn't killed by being eaten by piranha. He happened to get up on the dock, and this girl was trying to help him, and he's calling her all kinds of names, but she's trying her best. And then you can hear this loud motor, and he turns around, and a boat just comes right at his face, and there he goes. So I did like that they switched it up a little bit. Not everybody got 8. Well, I'm sure he got 8 later, but that's not how he died. So then Fallon, who is played by Ving Rhames, he jumps into the water with a shotgun, and he's shooting fish, yelling at people to get out. When he runs out of bullets, which of course he's going to, there's thousands of these piranha, he literally rips a motor off a boat and starts using the spinning propeller as a weapon. And he's just, going back and forth, and you can see them all churning up and chopped up, and blood's going everywhere, and parts of fish are going everywhere. And, while he's doing this, he's still yelling at everybody to get out of the water. And it works for about maybe 20, 30 seconds. But then the swarm is just surrounding him, and he keeps fighting them with this propeller as they drag. I don't know if they're dragging him under so much as they're eating so much of his legs away that he just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So now the lake's, completely red. And while all that chaos is happening on the main beach, Julie, who is there, but she's on the police boat, she gets a phone call. It's Jake. And this is the moment where he finally admits that he screwed up. And he tells her they're on Derek's boat and it's sinking. And she doesn't waste time by asking any questions. Somehow she knows exactly where it is. And
it's at her house.
That's right.
the fucking pond.
Yeah, no kidding. She immediately just starts moving, and there just happens to be a perfect line of things: a jet ski, a boat, floats, whatever, that she can just jump across. Like,
yeah, that was American Ninja Warrior fucking.
Yes, it was. It's exactly what I thought of. So she hurls herself across all these things and gets on some boat. And I'm not really sure. I can't remember why she couldn't just take the boat she was already on. I don't know. I didn't catch that part. I guess it just wasn't as exciting.
You need the parkour aspect.
Yeah. So she gets on their boat. Well, the scientist guy that was with her when the two other scuba divers went in the water, his name is Novak, and he's played by Adam Scott. And I'm actually kind of surprised at how many big name people are in this movie.
Yeah.
Him, Elisabeth Shue, who's playing the sheriff, Jerry O'Connell. There's just a lot of people in this movie. I'm like, wow, I can't believe these people are in this movie. Ving Rhames, what? He's like, he pulls up on a jet ski beside her, and he's like, I'm going with you. I don't know how he knew where she was going.
Where?
Right. So they take off towards Jake, wherever he is. Meanwhile, back on Derek's boat, it's a full disaster movie. The boat is taking on water. The lower deck is flooding because they have hit a rock by this point. And the boat, the way it's made, there's a glass thing at the bottom, like the bottom of the boat's cut out, and they put this glass insert that goes down. It's not just a flat piece of glass. And that's how they could get pictures of the girls that were swimming earlier. They got it through that glass thing. So when they hit a rock, that glass broke and the boat starts taking on water. So when this happens, when they hit the rock, of course, it shakes up the boat. Derek and one of the girls are out on the top of the boat, and they fall off over the side. So she's immediately attacked and eaten. He panics. He's trying to swim away, but of course the swarm turns on him too. Then Danny, the girl, the British girl, she tries to help pull him up onto the boat. She does manage to get him up to where he can grab onto something, and he pulls himself up, but from the waist down, he's gone. So now he's laying there on the deck of the boat. Jake looks at him horrified, and Derek, in one of the, I don't know, probably the best lines of the whole movie, tells him, "They ate my penis." He just keeps saying it.
I think that was supposed to be a 3D part too.
Right. Oh, definitely. So he just keeps saying, "They ate my penis," and then the movie actually shows underwater two piranha, and then his penis comes floating through, and has a very 3D kind of look to it. And one of them grabs the penis and swims around it for a second, and then chews it up and then spits it right back out. So yeah, that happens. Then Julie and Novak finally reach the sinking boat. They throw a rope from their boat to Derek's boat so everyone can shimmy across. Julie makes it across first and sees Jake, Danny, and the two kids. She asks if anyone else is on the boat, and Jake tells her Kelly's trapped down below deck because Kelly had gotten, when the boat hit the rock, she hit her head on something and it knocked her out. And the two little kids were down there with her, and they were able to run out and get out to the deck and let Jake know that Kelly's down there, but she was knocked out. She does become conscious, and there's this, what the heck would you call that thing? There was like a little window thing that kind of opened up a little bit. Like, there's a name for it. I can't think what it is.
I don't know what you call for it.
But they couldn't pull that off. I feel like it was flimsy. They could have, if they really had tried hard enough, they could have broken that thing off and she could have crawled through that hole. But of course they couldn't. So he tells Julie, yeah, I guess it's a hatch. Yeah. But it's like
I love having a computer now to be able to ask it while I'm, this is fucking sick.
But it's like a little plastic thing, like almost like you would like roll it, turn the little thing, and it would roll up and then come down. But he tells Julie Kelly's trapped down below deck. She's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Everyone needs to get across first, and then I'll go back for Kelly. So they all start crossing the rope at once. Of course, you've got Danny first, and then the two kids, then Julie, and then Jake is supposed to come after Julie. So as they're going across, and they're shimmying, here's the rope, and they're upside down, shimmying across the rope. And there's 4 of them on this rope. And of course, it dips. And the girl, Danny, she has this long, long, beautiful hair. It's dragging in the lake. And the piranhas start jumping, and they're grabbing at her hair. And they latch onto her hair, and they latch onto her body. And the rope sinks even more, and she gets pulled into the water, and she's gone. So then the kids are freaking out, but Julie is like, just go, go, go. So they get across. They make it across to the boat that Novak's on. And then Jake, back on the main boat, unties the rope, and she's Julie's freaking out, like, what are you doing? And he says, they want blood, right? So he ties the rope around himself, grabs Derek's corpse, although he does for a second, and I can't remember what he says, but he does like he's still alive, but then he's dead. And then he throws Derek's body into the water on one side of the boat. And when all the piranha that were swarming around outside the boat, plus the piranha had gotten into the boat because the water had gotten high enough to where they were getting pretty close to jumping out of the water and grabbing hold of Kelly. When he throws the body in, they all swarm over to where that body is. And that allows him to then go on the other side of the boat, swim around, go up under into the broken window thing, and get inside the flooding cabin. When he dives in and goes up, and I'm not really sure why he just didn't go in through the cabin, like, because he was right there on the boat. I don't know why he just didn't go down into the cabin. I don't know why he had to go outside. I guess rope reasons. I don't know. When he gets up there, when he is going through, you can see where everything that's in the boat, and he finds a flare, and there's 2 propane tanks that just happen to be sitting in the cabin. He goes over to Kelly. She's like all excited, like, oh, thank God you're here. How are we getting out of here? And he's like, I need you to hold on to me really, really tight. And he's got his mom's radio, and he radios back to the boat, and he's like, in 10 seconds, which actually ends up being probably about 30 seconds, but you know how movie time is, in 10 seconds, floor it and pull us out of there. And at that point, I'm thinking, you guys are going to bounce all over this fucking boat. That is not going to feel
Dude,
good.
I thought the stick, because when he went down in and back up, like the rope is looped now, so he's gonna don't.
Like,
Like,
pew, 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 pew.
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
So he's like, I just need you to give me a minute. So he goes back to where those tanks were, and he opens the propane tanks, and then he'd already actually given her the flare and had told her to attach it to, I think, the radio, and to tie it up to the radio.
Why?
She's like, okay. She actually asked him why too. He was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So he opens propane tanks, swims back to her. He says, hold on real tight. He's like, he'd already given the countdown for 10 seconds prior to going over and opening the tanks, by the way. And so they go down. He's like, hold your breath. They go down, they swim out, and they're now in front of the boat, just waiting for them to pull them after they get down to the countdown. Honestly, all the time that it took, they could have just swam to the boat. Because, of course, as horror movies go, the boat wasn't starting. And he couldn't turn over the engine. So he's like trying to turn over, and he's like, shit. And it's forever. I don't know why the piranha haven't figured out they're there yet. They should have eaten through Derek by now. But,
right.
You know, suspension of belief, the way horror movies can be. So, of course, the piranha are starting to figure out where they are, and they start coming towards them. And they're getting really, really close. And the second they're almost at him, he gets the engine to turn over just at the second the piranha are almost at them, and they take off. And as soon as they take off, the boat explodes. So all of that happens at one time. So they're flooring it, and the 2 of them are underwater.
Right.
And you know this has got to hurt, because when you have that much water hitting you, I don't know how they're holding their breath that whole time.
No,
it takes a while. Yeah.
And I don't understand why they had to blow up the boat. Like, they just needed to scoot out of there and get out.
They just need to get the hell out.
They need to blow up the boat.
I don't know, unless his plan was blowing up the boat, which it did, was going to kill all the piranha. But of course, it's only going to kill the piranha that are there. They act like they killed the piranha of the whole boat. Yeah.
No, I mean, that was exactly I was like, that doesn't make any sense. You didn't have to do all that. You just need to get
right. And you can't blow up. That little boat explosion isn't going to clear out every single piranha in the whole lake. It's
Right.
just right there. So they get them up on the boat. There's a huge fireball, piranha raining down around them. They get far enough away and stop and let the kids back up on the boat. And now the lake is covered in floating dead fish. So they think, oh, we did it. We killed all the fish. Funny thing, no other fish floated to the top. They should have killed all the fish in the area, not just the piranha.
Maybe the piranhas
Unless,
ate all the rest.
that's what I say, unless the piranha ate all the other fish. So they're, all on the boat, they're exhausted, but they all feel like it's over. Then Julie gets a phone call from Carl Goodman, the fish expert, and he says, and he's worried because he's like, I've got some bad news. She looks at the lake full of dead fish and says, well, I'm looking at a lake full of dead piranha right now, so I'm feeling pretty good. And he tells her the one they brought to him didn't have mature reproductive organs. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And he says, you killed the babies. Those are just the babies. So then Novak, who's staying there on the boat, he's like, the babies? Then where are the parents? And right on cue, giant, humongous piranha jumps out of the water over the boat, grabs him, and takes him into the water. And we're guessing he's a goner. And then we cut to black. So, and of course, I'm guessing that's a setup for maybe Piranha 3D2.
It's actually called 3 Double D.
Yeah, there is a 3 Double D.
I was
Yeah.
like, man, this fucking these guys are wrong.
All right. So, Christopher, what are your thoughts on that movie?
I thought it was entertaining and
Right.
definitely a light-hearted horror film. Something not to
Yeah.
be taken super serious, just to kind of chuckle at.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like it was, Oscar contender, of course.
Apparently there was a petition to like get it to recognized for some awards, and I was like, oh. But that was fun. And you
Okay.
were right. There were a bunch of people that were like in it. And you were like, wow, they got some big names to roll on through this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, a lot of times actors, they like to do a variety of characters. I mean, you don't want to be pigeonholed into one type of character. When I saw Ving Rhames in this movie, I was like, really? Marcellus Wallace? And now you're doing this? Come on now. But
Yeah, I
it's
wonder who
probably,
the casting person was, if he just like had a bunch of buddies.
yeah, maybe. But at the same time, it's probably also one of those movies that, even though it was cheesy and it was whatever, it was probably just a fun thing to do. Like, what the heck, that kind of thing.
And I feel like, when was it made? It was made in 2010. I feel like
Uh-huh.
the 3D thing and like the IMAX thing was I feel like it was back then.
I don't know. I remember because, I'm a Gen Xer, so I was born in the 70s and I grew up during the 80s, and 3D was huge during the 80s. I don't remember it being super huge later on, but there were a few movies that did use the 3D thing for whatever reason. I don't know why. But you don't get a whole lot of them anymore, not like you used to in the 80s.
Yeah, Google says 50s, 80s, and then early 2010s.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
So I guess it was a big deal back in the 2010s. Interesting.
Yeah,
So
fun time.
how many cents would you give this movie?
Nah, man. Probably like I want to be nice on my first one. I give it 4.
Okay, 4 cents. Yeah, that makes sense. So for me, for this movie, I've mentioned this on other podcasts that I've done, the ones I did with Dan. I love a good cheesy shark movie or any kind of cheesy animal movie, really. Like, they have all kinds of, crazy animal horror movies, alligators, stuff like snakes, whatever. I kind of really like the cheesy movies like this where everything is crazy and chaotic. And this movie also, to me, was almost like a disaster movie to some extent. And I love a disaster movie. Like, I loved Towering Inferno. I loved Poseidon Adventure. And they did a remake of Poseidon Adventure, which I watched that one as well. But there's just something, Titanic. I love just a good disaster movie, like where everything's falling apart and people are trying to get out and do whatever. So this kind of had that feel to it as well. So I kind of like that. It isn't, it's a fun, like, if I'm flipping the channels or whatever, and it just happens to be on and it's near like the middle, I might leave it on and let it keep going. And it's a no-brainer. It's a non-thinking movie. So you just don't really want to pay attention to it. That's one of those kind of movies where you can kind of have it on the background and do other stuff, but still kind of tune in every once in a while. But I would probably also give this, I'd probably give 4.5 cents. I will say though, because I do have some background stuff on this movie, the whole Jaws thing in the opening did purposely intentionally design it as a meta kind of joke. He's supposedly technically not playing Matt Hooper, but let's be honest, he was. It had the same vibe, same energy, the song, he was wearing the same clothes. But the filmmakers did want the audience to immediately understand that this movie knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to hide the inspiration. And the director, Alexander Aja, or Aja, I'm not sure how to say it. He's actually known for darker horror like High Tension and The Hills Have Eyes remake. So it's interesting that he leaned so hard into this kind of over-the-top creature feature that this was. And I will give this movie credit for this. Most of the gore in this movie is practical effects. It's not CGI, not computer generated. It was a massive spring break massacre scene that took weeks to film and involved hundreds of extras, prosthetics, fake limbs, and water rigs. So as chaotic as it looks, it was apparently very carefully choreographed chaos, which I thought was kind of cool because you don't get a lot of that anymore where they're really doing it, you know? And then Christopher Lloyd, him being cast as the eccentric fish expert was intentional too. They wanted that slightly unhinged scientist energy. Basically the let me explain the plot guy, but he does it in that Christopher Lloyd way. And I guess I do have it here in my notes. It's been 4 weeks since I've watched this movie and put this script together, so I guess I forgot. But I have it in my notes. This movie came out during the big 3D boom after Avatar. Was Avatar 3D?
Was it?
I've seen Avatar. I don't remember it being 3D.
I don't know either.
All right.
I reckon. It's in your notes.
It is in my notes. So, but yeah, so all those body parts and fish flying directly at the screen were designed as the 3D gimmick for the audience. And yes, the ate my penis scene was done with practical effects. That was a floating gag prop. It was a real thing in the water. So I thought that was kind of funny. All right. So do you have anything else you'd like to add to this movie or what you think about this movie?
Nope, it was cool. It was a fun time. What's the next movie? Do we announce that or?
We're about to get into that. All right. So that was Piranha 3D, Spring Break, Bad Decisions, and more floating body parts than anyone asked for. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast platform and now on YouTube, since we've officially joined the You Can See Our Facial Expressions era. Christopher, welcome to the madness. Next week, we're sticking with our Spring Break Broken Bodies theme, but we're trading bikinis and boats for something a little more grounded. Christopher's pick is The Ruins. So instead of prehistoric... Yeah, it's been a while. It's been like 3 weeks since I've seen this movie, so I'm going to have to watch it again. So instead of prehistoric fish chewing through tourists, we'll be watching plants politely ruin everyone's vacation. Different ecosystems, same poor choices. Until then, be scared, be prepared, and don't get caught in the dark.